to share this with everyone because I think in this journey of your own vision, but also in being confident, right? A lot of people, that's the one thing that for them will change everything. If they just figure out how to be confident in themselves.
Yes.
And if you know who you are, where you're going, the words you want to say to yourself about yourself, even if you don't believe them yet. When you figure out all of those things, I think having them clear in places in front of you.
This show is about how can you start your day a little bit more intentional, a little more grounded and confident and joyous. How can we start the day in some way we spark some aliveness in you to go win the day? Spark some aliveness to be a good mom or a good parent or a good caregiver or a good leader, or contributor, artist, whatever your jam is today. How can you bring some joy to that and really experience it? Like life has to be a quintessential question of how can I enjoy this day?
Yeah.
Even when the day is full of, I got to make lunch for 50 people, or I got, I gotta go, do all the laundry of 70 people, or I have to figure out how to build this business or start this thing. You must find your way of bringing happiness to it. And Jamie and I have been talking about confidence all week, and we've talked about different frameworks for how do you find confidence, from letting go of labels that other people called you to simple acts of standing in front of your goals and your dreams every day and looking at them so that the motivation, the ambition hits your heart again visually. All of these things we talk about. Today I had an idea I thought I'd share about confidence, Jamie.
Yeah.
And I know you have some things you'd like to share as well. And you want to go first?
No, go for it. Go for it. We're
Every
both
time you
coming in
open,
hot
I get happy.
today.
I get happy. I know some of you, you're new to our community. So if you have never joined us officially on Growth Day, go to growthday.com. That's where we do all our live in-depth training with lots of personal development trainers going live for you guys all year long for less than $1 a day. It's super cool. But Jamie sent me these mugs, which still makes me happy every time I take a drink out of it. Cheers, Jamie. Good morning.
Cheers. Good morning. Cheers. Cheers. I'm going to guess, are you drinking green tea?
It's water today.
Water today. Okay. You don't need to
Just
guess with
water.
mine. It's complete coffee.
I already
Complete
got my morning workout in, so I'm energized. I'm fired up. I get so excited to talk with you all and see you all in the comments. I see people all around the world who join us every single morning just to give you a big old virtual hug and start your day off strong. Here's an idea on confidence, speaking of drinking my water here, that might serve you all. And that's this. Please realize that a lot of confidence, as we've talked about it, has been very, let me redefine my identity. Let me set intentions for who I am each day. Let me look at my goals and let me believe in my ability to figure things out, because that's what confidence is, my belief in my ability to figure things out. But I also want to tell a different kind of confidence. We're halfway through the week. And this different kind of confidence is the confidence of trust in being. Think about this. When water is flowing down a hill, it's not trying to be confident and strong. It's not trying to surge down the hill. It's not trying to command all the rocks to be exactly where the rocks have to be because it's a perfectionist water. It's flowing naturally with what it is. The bumblebee isn't going, we're going to command this field. Let me bring the legions and we're going to take this field. The bumblebee is doing what the bumblebee does, what the bumblebee is. And sometimes people lack confidence, not because they don't have goals, not because they're not high achievers. In fact, most of the high performers that I've consulted and coached with and worked with in the world, what they were trying to get back to was their authentic presence. They were the good commander on the field or the builder of the industry or the titan. And then at some point they said, I got to figure out me again and flow with that. And finding your natural essence, your nature, the truth of who you are, there's confidence there. Like I show up in a lot of different situations where it's very anxiety producing, right? Imagine walking out onto a 60-foot stage that's 40 feet deep and 20,000 people are in the arena. And you have to talk to them, entertain them, and get a standing ovation in 90 minutes. This used to be my life, people. And it's very anxiety producing. And if I think I'm going to go do these things to them, or if I think, oh, I hope I get this right, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to dance with them. And I'm a terrible dancer. I'm going to tell my jokes, which 9 out of 10 times I think is funny. And no one laughs at the joke. They just laugh the fact that I'm so enjoying myself. So they're like, I like him because he's enjoying himself.
Mm.
I want you on this Wednesday, halfway through the week, to enjoy yourself, to flow with your nature today, even if you have to do something you don't want to do. You don't want to do the emails. You don't want to do the call. You don't want to do the work. You don't want to do the things with kids. Flow with it. Don't try to control everything. Flow with yourself. Be spontaneous. Real confidence isn't actually structured. It's spontaneous. It's flowing. It's gorgeously open energy that's in the moment of presence, that's in the moment of freedom. And that's what I want you to find. To take that idea that confidence is bum, 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 the Superman cape, instead going, no, confidence is the dance. It's the flow. It's the energy. You're just showing up being beautifully you. Please do that today and you'll have a better week.
Amen to that on a Wednesday. And I
Amen
love
on a Wednesday. Can I get an amen on a Wednesday?
amen on a Wednesday. I'm throwing out what I was going to talk about because this is so good and I'm fired up right now. Okay, I want to distinguish something you just said too that I think is huge for people. Sometimes when we're in a growth community and we're invested into personal growth and we want to change our habits, improve our habits, we want to do all those things. Sometimes we can confuse that with I need to change who I am or my essence. And they're two different things, right? And I think this is so beautiful what you said because I think it's so freeing for people as well. Because when we feel like we are just that authentic water and we're flowing through and we're showing up in our own real true essence of who we are, for better or worse. Not everyone's going to love it. Not everything's perfect, but when you do that and you actually like embrace who you are fully, it's so freeing. You feel in that state of flow and you're able to connect with other people authentically. You're able to feel the day more. And then also you approach, I think, personal growth from a place of freedom also from a place of confidence, right? Because you're not saying, oh, I need to change who I am to become confident. You're like, oh no, let me show up in all of my essence. Let me flow through life and dance in full commitment, as you would say, right? And by the way, Brendan, the other day when you were talking about your dancing, how bad your dancing is on stage, I'm like, no, no. The way that dancing is good or bad based on if you fully commit. And I believe anyone who fully commits when they dance, fully commits, great dancer, right? And so many people reposted that because how true is this, right? The example you just gave that when you show up on your stage and you're just out there and you're all of that, it's laughing at your own jokes. But when you're fully flowing through like the water in your own jokes and you really think they're funny, people can feel it and they celebrate that, right? And I think
Because you're
sometimes,
taking joy in your being. You're taking joy in
yeah,
your own mind. You're taking joy in
yeah,
the moment. And I
yes,
really want everybody to feel that is like it's halfway through the week. Are you feeling the day at all? Are
yeah,
you bringing intention and energy into it? Are you letting the world's events transpire and in such a way that it doesn't throw you off from your flow?
yeah,
I mean, like, isn't it true drama is always going to be there, Jamie? Like
always,
drama, something's going to break. I mean, you had 1,000 employees at It Cosmetics or whatever it was. It was like,
yep,
right? I mean, at some point, people were screwing stuff up and bad things were happening. Customers were upset about this or that. That's just life, but you still got
yep.
to show up and do the work, you know?
Yeah, part of any business, part of any family, part of any group absolutely. It's always there and you have to show up. And I think, with the theme of Confidence Week and talking about what you're saying too, about just showing up in your own essence, one thing I want to share that just popped in my mind that was so powerful for me to see, and maybe this is going to speak to someone out there right now who feels like they're getting feedback from other people on things they're not doing good enough or well enough or things they need to change, or maybe your own inner critic is telling you all the stuff you need to change about yourself. And I just want to make this I just want to make this point again, that there's a difference between changing who you are versus keeping who you are and growing authentically into more of who you are, growing into
Yes.
all of who you are, right?
Yes.
Very different than changing who you are. So I just want to call this out because so many people, we need to stop thinking we need to change who we are and that there's something wrong with us. And instead, like embrace our essence, embrace who we are authentically, and go on this journey of growing into all of who we are. And confidence is a big part of that. And a friend of mine, Glennon Doyle, who just wrote a book called Untamed, he's out there everywhere. Uh, she said something recently, and it just blew my mind. And I'm going to share it with everyone right now who might need to hear this today because we're talking about confidence, right? So, anyone who's written a book before, anyone who is in the process now, anyone who might want to write a book in the future, when you write your full manuscript and you turn it in, if you go through a publisher, you have different editors, and they look at all your stuff and they start changing a lot of stuff. I mean, every
You
page
turned it
can
in,
get
you just started the work. Y'all should
yeah.
that. When you write a book, when you turn it in, you literally just began the project. That was
Yeah.
like the first step. That's the hardest step. That's the first step. So be ready for Jamie finished her first book. Believe it. It comes out next month. I'm so
This
excited.
month, this
This
month,
month,
two
in
two
like
and a
three
half
weeks.
weeks.
It's
Yeah.
called Believe It. Pre-order on Amazon. Go support her. Go to believeit.com. She worked so hard on this book, y'all. I know you're telling a story. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just
No, no,
so
go ahead.
excited because you really got it. Like she turned it in. I got a first version of Believe It, and I went through it and gave some feedback and knew it was like, this is the first round of feedback and this is going to be a lot. Like your editors and remember you were so precious about it. You were like, oh, I hope they don't want to change it. And I was like, oh, they might, that's, you go through the process. And I just trusted and knew that you would going through the process several more times with other people.
Yeah.
It always makes something better. It really does. If you trust and you
Yeah.
follow your voice. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So just to share that, I said no to a book deal for 10 years because I was like all in building this company and I didn't want someone else to write my book. I wanted it to be fully authentic. So I waited. And then when I knew it was the right time, I wrote 80,000 words, every single word. And I was crying and laughing and so fired up for everyone that was going to, to share these lessons with, and binge eating Lucky Charms some days, all the things. Anyways, when I finally turned in the manuscript, Brendan, you and Oprah were two of the first two people that read the draft, and it was the first time I got feedback. And this is what I want to share with everyone and share about Glennon Doyle's story. And you said the same thing, and so did Oprah too. There's like, oh, great editors are gonna even challenge you to go deeper on the stories, deeper on the lessons, all the stuff. And so, yeah, to your point, writing the book, that's the starting point. Then
So to
I
start.
spent the last 2 years, almost 2 years, editing every single word myself, going deeper, challenge. But the point I want to make is this: not about my book, but about our life and about every person listening right now. We all go through a process in life. I think whether you're writing a book or you're just living your day-to-day life, right? No matter what you're waking up and dealing with today, and that's when other people tell us to change things, right? Or tell us something's not right, it needs to be stronger, it needs to be better. And I think that it's so important to check in with our gut and go, does that feel right to me? And then if it feels right, you're like, oh, that feedback is a gift. I'm going with it. What a gift that this person said, hey, I think you should do this, challenge yourself to go deeper on this lesson. Or can you share more? I know it's personal, but can you share more? Whatever that feedback is, right? And then there's other times where you get people wanting to edit you, to use the book terms, and you're like, no, right? And I think this is really important. And in the book world, I'm going to share a word I just learned as an author in the past 2 years, which is STET, STET, right? So when you get your book back, your manuscript back, the first round from all the editors, you'll see everything, a million changes on every page. And if you want to accept the change, if they say, hey, go deeper on this lesson or reveal this, or what if you talk more about this ex-boyfriend, whatever it is, right? You can accept the change and go, yeah, I'm going to go deeper there. I'm going to change this or edit that. Or you, as an author of your own life, your own book, you can write STET, STET. And what that means is, no, I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to accept that edit. I appreciate your feedback, but it's not right for me authentically. So I was watching, my friend Glennon Doyle was talking about the words of the year. A lot of people have their own word for the year, right? Every year. And she was talking about a lot of people might choose, confidence, like we're talking about, which is huge, and a word that we need to focus on for the year. It's a big thing out there. Her word is stet of the whole year. And she explained it in a way that was, I thought, so profound. And I just want to share it because someone else out there might need that word right now. She's
Kind
like,
of like, I'm not
listen,
going to change. Kind of like,
not, she's like, I'm
thanks
going
for your
to
input, but
grow.
I'm not needing to change.
Well, it's more just like being mindful of when people tell you you need to do this differently, or you're not enough, or you're not the right
Yeah.
fit, or you need to change this about you or that about you. It is so important that we go, oh, is this feedback a gift? Is it aligned with my soul? Is it valuable so that I can continue becoming all of who I am? Or do I just need to say stat? Like,
We're good enough.
thank you for your opinion. But that feedback isn't right for me. That criticism or that telling me something about me needs to change or something about me is not enough. And I think having the confidence in our own lives of saying, I'm going to trust myself and my gut over if this word someone said to me is right for me, or this feedback someone gave me, or this criticism someone gave me. Having the confidence to say, does this feel right in my gut? And if it does, great, trust it. And if it doesn't, don't. And have the confidence to
Good.
just appreciate that from a distance and appreciate that person's
Yeah.
intentions, because a lot of times they're good, but say that word stat in your own life. And I just thought that was really powerful because a lot of times we're so
I like
busy throughout the day that we don't take the time to go, oh, let me curate the words that are that come in, that penetrate and take root, that other people share or that I'm hearing throughout my day. And I think part of confidence is learning to do that.
I think it is. It's about how to receive other people's direction or input or judgments, and also your own judgments, because sometimes it's your own voice
Yeah.
saying things and you be like, whoa, is that true? I put everything through a filter, obviously, because I'm the Mr. Framework guy. So I'm like, I call it the 3 E's. And so I listen for the 3 E's, and the E's just each stand for a word. And the first one is, does this feedback or this mental chatter, if I follow it, does it expand? Does it expand my growth? Does it expand who I am? Does it expand my strengths, my energy? Is it something that's going to make me, in other words, grow, but like is expansive from the source, right? Meaning, first, does that tie in with the source, the truth of who I am or what I desire or where I'm going? And does it expand it? Or does it just like, pop in a hole in it? It's like, okay, that's not useful. The question is, does it expand? The second one is, does it enrich? Does this feedback, if I follow it, or this mental, if I do what my, ideas are thinking, does it enrich my life? Does it enrich my life in terms of my joy? Does it enrich my life in terms of the beauty around me? Does it enrich how the sense of satisfaction or fulfillment or meaning that I get from life? Or is it just more noise? And then the last one is, does it empower me in such a way it makes me more accountable or skilled? Like, if I do what they're saying, will that make me better? Will that make me a higher performer? Will that take me to the next level? Does that empower my belief in myself, or does that empower me to do more the next day or to be more? And so I'm always thinking, does this expand me? Does this enrich my life? Does this empower my capabilities? If not, it's noise and probably a direction I don't need to go on, or it's a label someone's applying. It's not, in other words, it's not actually directive. It's not additive. It's not progressive. And you have to learn those, because some people offer what I call dead end advice: label, judgment, stop. And I'm like, oh, that's dead end advice. That's dead end advice is thank you, but there's a dead end. Other people offer advice or thoughts or judgments or encouragement to you that now expands, enriches, or empowers. You want to listen to those people. You want to listen to those thoughts. You want to set up your environment from what's going in your ear and your workout when you're listening to positive podcasts or our morning show. You want to start programming your mind for things that are expanding, enriching, and empowering. And the more you do that, the more that ends up kind of, I would say, kind of like knocking down the noise of other things, because our brains are always telling us stories. And sometimes you have to feed like other sounds into your brain, encouraging people, enriching advice, empowering ideas, that overcomes the lower levels of noise and those thoughts that aren't serving or positive or engaging. And I think that's just a big differentiator in life. Is this expanding, enriching, and empowering me, or is it just noise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me, part of expanding and enriching and empowering too is just, how does this feel in my gut? Does this feel right? You know what I mean? I think of all the years of getting feedback from, when I was trying to build a company and kept getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And every time, usually these rejections from the retail stores or from, whoever it was, experts it would come with feedback. And I always had to check in and just trust my gut. And sometimes, like at the end of the day, sometimes it's all we have is that inner knowing of, is this feedback right for me? Is that word somebody said right for me? Do I let it take root? And there were so many times where I would get feedback like, oh, you need to change all of your packaging and make it a lot more expensive feeling, or whatever the feedback was. And I always would check in and be like, no, like it doesn't feel right. Or, oh, wow, that was a good catch. They just told me my font is too small to read. And oh, that was huge. Thank you. You know what I mean?
Oh, you don't. If you make font too small, Jamie's coming right at you. She's gonna give you some feedback. You're like, no, She will catch that detail, people.
I wanted to ask you about something that I think has affected you. I know it's affected you, but so many people listening have this in their life, and maybe they shove it in the back of their mind, but it's still there. And that is this idea of labels. And what I mean is, like, so many of us have had, maybe it's when we were kids, someone called us a name, or we're in a situation and someone says, oh, but you're not smart enough, or you don't have what it takes, or you're the wrong fit for this, or you don't come from the right family, or this, that, the other thing. And a lot of times we then find ourselves as an adult, and that label is like stuck and it's taken root, and now it's sort of coming out in our lives, and we haven't even thought about it in years, but it's still there, that identity. When you were, I think it was 8 years old, you were called Eddie Spaghetti. Eddie Spaghetti. Can you share how that happened and how you did or didn't let that label take root?
But I talk about this in the book a lot too, is that, and how to overcome it, which I have. That part of me, I've leveraged into something pretty strong. But I talk about in the book that a lot of the beliefs we have about ourselves were installed in us, our identities, these thoughts and concepts we believe to be most true about us, our worth, they were installed in us when we were defenseless as kids. So it's like, be a good boy, be quiet, be a good girl, don't do that, don't make too much noise, and you start to develop this identity when you're young, and then when you get out into the world, because you believe it, you confirm it, and then you gather more and more references for it, and before you know it, you're 20 or 30 or 35 years old, and it's who you are. And you've proven it because of this. Your identity is the most powerful force in the world. You're going to be consistent with it, and most of what you believe about yourself, you weren't in control of believing. It was put there when you were a child. Well, same with me. So you have this combination of this kid who's at home, things aren't real stable there most of the time. Sometimes I feel like I overcook that too, because when it was good, it was very loving. And the other thing is, I had this loving mother 100% of the time, right? 100% of the time. And great grandparents and lots of great stuff, but there was this thing, right? So you have that anxiety going in chaos, going to school. I'm a little guy. I'm shy. I'm very, very shy. You know this about me to this day. I'm still very introverted, which surprises most people because of the speaking and stuff in the show, but I'm super introverted. And I just started to get picked on. And this Eddie Spaghetti, your meatballs, right? And the class would sing it to me, and they'd see me get upset. And it started to develop into this pattern of, you're not good enough all the time. And then I remember, You know, a few years later, a baseball coach, really, I was become a pretty good player, but we had a great player on our team who went on to play like Major League Baseball for many, many years. He's still a really good friend of mine. And I had a couple bad games and I was down. And our coach pulled me into his office. He was sort of a mean dude. He's a good dude, but he was a tough dude. And he pulled me into his office. He goes, "Hey, Eddie Spaghetti, this is now I'm a teenager." And he goes, "Did you ever think that maybe you're just not as good as him? Like, you going 0 for 3, like you can go 0 for 3, he can't. So why don't you just accept the fact you're just not that good?" This was my coach, right? And I remember just walking out of there like, whoa. And then I've shared with you another story that when I became a speaker, someone that I looked up to was like, "You know, you're really not that good. You know, like I can't even listen to you for more than about 15 minutes. And I used to think, is there something on me that's like, you can just punch me? Like, is there something about me? Like people think they can just tell me these things about me. What is it about me? Because other people aren't, what I found out is other people are hearing similar things. And the truth is, I just started to go, I actually asked myself a question that I say in the book. I don't really believe that many good things about myself. What would I need to believe about me that would serve me? What would I actually need to believe about me that would cause me to change the way I show up in the world? What would I need to believe? And all of a sudden, I started to really think about that. How would that guy walk? How would that guy talk? I'm doing an impersonation of this insecure guy. I'm doing an impersonation of a shy person. I'm doing an impersonation of someone who doesn't have confidence. It's an impersonation. It's not who I really am. Well, maybe I can begin to impersonate the person I want to be. And I actually started to impersonate him a little bit. Not fake it, but like, you know what? He'd walk with his shoulders back. His voice would be a little bit deeper than the one I'd walk around with. He'd think certain things about himself. Moreover, he would treat other people a particular way. He would treat other people in a kind and generous and strong way, almost in an overabundance of kindness and generosity to people, and belief and love for people. And a lot of that happened when I worked at the orphanage. I was like, now that's the guy I like. That's the guy that I am. I'm the giving guy. I'm the kind guy. And you know what? I found out when I did that, I took it away from me, as we said earlier, and it was about other people, that I found a lot more peace. So I just started to become that person, and slowly but surely, I think I am that person.
That is really powerful. There's, I'm sure, so many people, I'm sure they'll send messages about this, who, you know, see you online, watch your content, and maybe think that everything's perfect.
Right.
And think that you were just born with all of this confidence and with, you know, everyone loving you and millions of people following you, even through grade school, right? I mean, we tend to think those things about people that we don't yet know deeply. And then we think when those things happen to us, like someone tells us we're just not good enough, we kind of hide it because we're embarrassed by it, or we think it doesn't happen to other people. And I feel like you sharing that is so powerful.
Thank you. I think I have a lot of people from high school actually that follow me now, right? When you're, and I think if you were to ask a lot of them, because they've told me this, I just wasn't, I think they would just say to you, like, I wouldn't expect it to be an Eddie. You know, not like he was a complete, I was just there, if that makes any sense. Like, no, I would not, there was no like most likely to succeed in any of my, you know, yearbooks or anything like that. But I don't think by the time I graduated, it wasn't like he's a complete dum-dum, but it was just like, he's just Eddie Milet, you know, he's just Eddie. Like, you would never suspect he would be the person that, you know, might reach a lot of human beings in his life. You know, you just would never have predicted that. And that ought to give everybody hope. If you're not one of those people that everyone's like, no, for sure it's her.
Yeah.
I was definitely not that person. You go, oh, just mark it down. He's going to do something great with his life. No, no one was saying that about me. No one. No teacher, no coach. Maybe a couple teachers when I was a little guy, but most people would not have said that anything significant was ever going to happen.
So good. They didn't know you were the one.
That's right.
They didn't know. That's powerful, because a lot of people are wondering, am I the one? Can I be the one? No one's telling me I'm the one.
And I think the fact that you doubt, or wonder whether you're the one is indicative of the fact that you probably are.
Woo!
I do. I just believe that.
That's so good.
And you know this, and by the way, the reason it's good is because you know that to be true about you.
I know that's true, but I've never thought about it that way. I know that's true. And I'm just thinking right now, I have goosebumps thinking about how many people are listening to this. And right now they know that they're wondering if they're the one.
Yeah, and that makes you probably the one. Yes, that's right. And you this because it happened in your life.
Yes, that is huge. All right.
This is good.
I want to talk about, the story. Can you share with everyone this story? I feel like someone needs to hear this today about your first grade teacher.
Yeah, Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
So, I'll even elaborate on it a little bit. So I had no confidence at all, and I was getting picked on. This is what I think happened. Mrs. Smith was just a super, really kind lady, and we had moved to the town that we were in then, and so I was also a new kid. On top of being small, on top of being Eddie Spaghetti, on top of being insecure, on top of leaving many mornings where my dad maybe didn't come home the night before, or there was just turmoil the night before. I'm just leaving that house, this little dude. I wish I could go back and hug him, which my mom did a lot of, by the way. And so she knew that I just had no self-esteem. And I believe she orchestrated this entire thing, but we were doing testing like for grades and stuff for the next grades. And she purposely did this for me. She had someone come in the back of the room and say, Mrs. Smith, we need your smartest student to come take a test to represent the class. And I could see the person in the back. I heard them. And I watched Mrs. Smith go, that's Eddie Milet. I would pick Eddie. He's the smart boy. And she picks me. And I remember going, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm the smart boy. And I just looked at her and she smiled at me. And I remember just lighting up. And then the person goes, okay, then Eddie Milet, you need to come with us. And I stood up, and it was the first time ever in my life that I was like, I'm special. This is special. And I walked up and went to the back, and I took the test, and I guess I did well. But when I came back in, I didn't say this on the last time I told this. When I came back in, at the end of the day, class was over, and Mrs. Smith said, Eddie, can you come up here for me? And I came up, and she hugged me. And she goes, you're so special and so smart. You're the smartest boy. She just like hugs on me for a minute. And it really changed my life a lot. It changed my life because that was the first time I was like, well, maybe they're wrong. Maybe I am smart. Maybe I am special. And this beautiful soul knew exactly what she was doing. She orchestrated all that. She knew there was this child. I think she had this sense something was going on in my home, because kids don't come like that to school, that shy, that timid, unless something's wrong at the house. And I'm telling you the truth that I've thought about that like hundreds, maybe thousands of times in my life, that event in my life. What a beautiful, beautiful soul she was. So that's Mrs. Smith. It's one of those people, in your life when you close your eyes and you go, there's this handful of humans that make you feel special, make you feel loved and cared for and believed in. And she's on that highlight reel of like maybe 3 or 4 human beings in my entire 51 years. And the reason that that's important is because I've tried really hard in my life to be that person for other people, that they go, he loves me, he cares about me, maybe even as important, he believes in me. And then you show people how to live a little better. And that's exactly what she did. She was a super, super special person. And little did she know that little first grade dude would, be on a show with you today. So.
Last night when we were talking on the phone about this idea about how many people don't feel seen.
Yeah.
And I'm just imagining like the power, right, of her seeing you.
First time anyone saw me. I was telling you last night that a lot of my work in my life has been, I don't know why it makes me so emotional, but a lot of my work in my life has been about helping people that perform pretty well perform their best. And the more and more I've been doing what I do, the more it's occurring to me that my role is a little different. And that is that there's millions and millions and millions of people, maybe more than ever in the world, that were like the first grader me, but they're 30 years old.
In this everyday situation, because we all, and by the way, another reason I love this Growth Day morning show is because I do believe energy is contagious. And I think that it's
Yes.
just so important for every one of us to even spend this time. And we're here live for 30 minutes Monday through Friday, in the morning, 7:30 Pacific. But even if you hop in for 5 minutes, right? I just think that being around this kind of energy is contagious. We don't all have that inside our homes. We don't all have that inside our communities. And also some of us that are really used to having that, everyone else that maybe poured into us that energy and that joy, they're going through hard times right now too, right? So it's just overall a big hard time. But Brendan, for each and every person right now, what is your advice, and maybe even what you're getting out of what you're reading now, but everything else, and how do you summon that? How do you summon that confidence and that vision for something bigger than yourself, and that to take you out of just the hard season around you that you're going through? How does every person on an everyday level sitting in their living room do that? Just
I
that
love it.
question.
Well, you know what's so funny? You all know I love coaching, and part of coaching is always the person who just asked the question almost always answered it. And so your question was, how do how do people summon that? And in that question is the answer, which is, you have to realize confidence is not something you have. Good energy is not something you have. Happiness is not something you have. It doesn't exist. It's something you choose to summon.
Mhm.
So if you're sitting on the couch and feeling bad, don't hope that purpose lands on you. Don't hope that joy lands on you. Don't hope that confidence, it doesn't land on you randomly. What happens is you go, oh, I need to focus my attention and my awareness. I need to bring my full presence towards this outcome in which I want right now. My outcome in which I want right now is presence or energy or confidence. And then your mindset has to be, oh, I have to summon that. I have to ask, what is within me? What is the strength within me? What is it that I want to achieve and move out here? And for those who don't know and you just need hope, sometimes it's just as simple as writing down your vision or your goals or your dream or that house that you want down the street or that thing that you want over here. And like just thinking about it and looking at it and going, okay, how would I have to show up to have that? What would I need to do today to move towards that? What small step could I take to inch me towards that right now? Okay, small step, turn off TV, stop the scroll, write down the goal, do this thing over here. Like small things enacted. See, confidence so often comes from capability. Capability comes from competence. Competence comes from consistency, right? You develop greater, like it's almost just like, you want to feel better? Get momentum, babe.
Mhm.
Get a little momentum behind you again. Small steps, small actions, a little momentum, a little breath behind the sails. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm moving towards this thing. I'm feeling a little better. It doesn't matter if it's cleaning up the house or starting a new launch or doing the thing. Get a little momentum behind and then remind yourself consistently of that bigger picture. Remind yourself, like for me, I have to look at something. I'm very visual, as you know. So I've got charts and diagrams and dreams and all this stuff, all pinned to this little board over here. And I got to stand in. I'm always telling the Growth Day this. I know they're going to sometimes. I stand in front of every day for 5 minutes. Even today, when I was so busy before we gone on, I stood before 5 minutes so I can see, oh, this goal, that thing, that dream. Here's my calendar. That's what makes me happy. All right, that makes me happy. That makes me confident. Okay, that makes me confident. Okay, and I'm taking it in every day. Think about this. If I'm a professional at this, guys, I'm literally paid to do this work. And I still have to stand in front of a board to motivate myself, to remind myself of what the fundamentals are in personal development to be happy or confident. I'm guessing everybody else should be doing it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what about you though? Because you
Yeah.
face so much. How do you summon
Well, and I
yourself?
think I think for me, I have to keep it about something bigger than myself, no matter what I do. Um, I mean, I remember, one story where after 3 years of hearing no from QVC, right? So I had created this business in my living room, got down to no money in our account, kept sending my products to all the retailers for years. And finally got one shot on QVC. And it's a long story, which I'll share for another day. But in that moment, when I had this one shot, it was this 10-minute window. And I knew, oh my gosh, if this goes well, this could change everything, right? It could open doors for my whole company. If this doesn't go well, I'm out of business and I'm bankrupt. And it was this one moment. And not to oversimplify the moment, but it really came down to me not making it about myself. And what I mean by that is, QVC, you're live in front of 100 million homes, right? And I remember, yeah, and there's no script.
It feels about that right there.
There's no script, there's no teleprompter. It's you and the host. And then, in my case, because I was in the beauty space, there's models that are going to model product. And it was a moment where I had risked everything because for 3 years, from all the department stores across the country, they all said no to carrying my products and said, you need to have models that look a specific way. And I kept fighting for this idea because no one was really doing this at the time. I'm like, what if we use all different, women, all ages and shapes and sizes and skin tones and skin challenges and me, I'll take my own makeup off and show my rosacea, right? I have a skin condition called rosacea. I'm like, let's shift culture in beauty and really try to redefine it. This was my bigger vision because I realized all growing up, like I love these ads, I would see these commercials, but at the end of the day, and I always aspired to look at them, but to look like them. But at the end of the day, they always made me feel as a little girl like I wasn't enough, right? So I had this big vision, big vision of, okay, let me try to show all different types of people as models, call them beautiful, mean it, shift culture for every little girl out there who's about to start doubting herself, every grown person who does. So I'm pitching this like and everyone's saying no, that this is never going to work for 3 years. And part of how I kept confidence in that journey was just knowing, okay, this is bigger than me. Like this vision of why I want to do this is bigger than me. If it would have just been, oh, I want to make some money, or oh, I want to, those are
Right.
great goals.
So key.
But
So
they're
key.
not bigger, right? And I kept that vision bigger always to keep that confidence because like it's not about me. And it came down to this one moment, literally probably one of the most important moments in my journey was this finally got a yes after 3 years of hearing no, and got this one 10-minute spot live on QVC. And I made the decision to, there's third-party experts out, consultants you can hire, and they all told me the best advice, which was probably the right advice because it's all that had ever worked, which was use these kind of models that have perfect skin. And but I went with my gut because it was like, okay, I want to do something bigger than myself. If I'm going to get one shot, I'd rather fail miserably and stand for something
Yes.
than sell a
I'd
ton of
rather
product.
fail miserably and stand for something. Wow.
Yeah, but
Write
it's
that one down,
hard.
y'all. Capture that somewhere, would you? I'd rather fail miserably and stand for something.
Stand for
Woo!
something. But it's hard in those moments. And I remember the 10-minute window. And why I'm bringing this up is because, for me, it's that vision. And I love coming after Vision Week and Growth Day Morning Show and going into Confidence Week, because I think whether it's something like what I'm describing with your business, or it could be something really small, like a personal health goal, it could be anything. But I think having confidence in that journey is part of it for me, is this bigger than myself, right? And
Yes.
so I remember the moment that the 10-minute clock came up, and we were about to go live, and I had that one shot, right? And if we didn't do well, we were done. Like we never would be invited back, and we had to hit the sales goal. And at the time, I was only selling 2 to 3 orders a day on our website after 3 years into building the company, and we were down to under $1,000 in our bank account, and this whole thing. And I took that risk of going, okay, I'm going to stick with my vision. And there was one moment, Brendan, when the cameras went live, and it was this 10 minutes, my one shot. You know what I mean? It was my one shot. And I remember thinking, like, for a split second, I went back in my head to making it about me for a second. I was like, is my dress too tight? I felt like sweat dripping down my Spanx. I was like, what? And I was like, oh, no. If I get in my head and make this about me, I'm done. Like, this is so much bigger than myself. And I had to make it not about me. And boom, in my own head, I had to shift to, why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And it was, my bigger vision of, oh my gosh, even if nobody buys anything and they flip on their TV and they see me showing, Helen in her 70s, all my different models, all ages, shapes, sizes, skin tones, like, and calling them beautiful, meaning it, and no one buys anything, like that, maybe I can at least shift culture a little bit around inclusivity. So that was like the vision I had to keep. But I just remember that moment, because if I went back into myself and made it about me and thought it was about me, I'd be done. I would have been done, and I would have never been able to authentically connect. Um,
Yeah, I
because
think that you tapped into what you stand for, and you
yeah,
tapped in for something that you believed in, something that's important. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
for those who've been in our community a long time, I teach people to put a card next to their computer that says, "Who needs me on my A game today?"
Mm,
Because many of you, just like Jamie's experience, you'll do more for other people than you do for yourselves. People hope that one day they overcome their insecurities by some magical mindful epiphany trick. And I'm like, actually, you want to overcome your insecurities? Go fight for someone.
mm,
You want to overcome your stuff? Go serve at a higher level that demands that you overcome your stuff so you can serve others. Like I would say, like, that's why I always say, seek leadership roles. Like, when you have to serve other people and inspire other people, lead other people, it makes you confront those parts of yourself that you are insecure about. Or more often, it's insecurity just from lack of inexperience.
mm,
And so as you get out and in motion, you're like, oh, I know this more. It's more familiar to me. I'm more comfortable with it. I'm more comfortable at it. I like it more when I do good. I like it more when I do good. I'm winning. I'm winning. I got some momentum. Now I'm more confident because I'm more capable. I have more competence. So I'm going to try new things. I try new things. I learn more things. I gain more confidence. It's like, it's going for it. But a huge part of that inflection point is that bigger vision, that bigger dream, that higher level of service, what you need to do. Many people, like for me, we talk a lot about finances on the show in some way or another. And I never had a financial goal. I wish I did at the beginning. I was around people who were like surviving. So I had like a survival mindset. I just need to survive. That was where I grew up. That's what it was about. There wasn't like an aspirational, like financial thing in my entire community. And so I didn't have that. And then I went to San Francisco and actually before that, I went to college, worked 3 jobs full time in college. Barely, I don't even know how or when I ever slept. And I just remember seeing people show up and they had, kids, their parents bought them cars. And I was like, oh my God, your parent bought you a car. I was like, what? Or I met kids who their parents bought them tuition. I was like, someone paid for your school? Like, these were so mind-boggling to me.
yeah.
And still, even seeing a lot, I still never set financial goals.
Mm,
And then I met Denise and I started thinking, oh, what do I want our life to be about? What do I want our life to be about? And I started going, oh, you know what? I need to have a bigger vision here because I want us to go places and have fun together. I'm gonna have to earn more. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started saying, okay. And I had a lot of insecurity around money. And I thought, oh, I'm just gonna face that. And the best way to face that is just get in motion and try to figure and learn it out. Because what I want to do is be a provider. What I want to do is create abundance for us. What I want to do is serve more people. And you know what? Serving more people will help me earn more too. And so it just like was this mindset shift that probably would, I literally think back, if I'd never met Denise, I can't imagine me having ever best-selling books or big courses or anything. One, because she put so much love in my heart that I serve from a place of love. And that's a big piece. Another one, because it like I wanted to do good for our family.
mm-hmm.
And that gave me the confidence, like, okay, if I want to do good for the family, show up today.
Mm-hmm.
Show up today. You have a dream. You want to care for your wife, your husband, your partner, your team, someone else. Show up for them today. Who needs you today? Jamie was like, she was standing on values.
Mm-hmm.
and service to those values. You can stand on your dream, your vision, a family member, someone you want to take care of, a cause you want to give to. But the most important thing is every day, put that thing in your head. Every morning, put that thing in the head. In the moments that matter, like she was talking about, or like Jamie and I also talk about, like burnout and fatigue and tired. Like when she's in this big launch for Believe It, her new book, it's like, okay, gotta show up. It's just like, it sucks. You're tired, still gotta show up. That's just part of every day. Show up because you have this outcome in mind. Show up because you want to do this thing for other people. Show up, show up, show up, show up. All
And
right.
when you say who needs, I know we're going to wrap up, but one more thing to add quickly. When you say who needs you on your A game today, I just want to say this, like it may not be a friend or family member or a loved one. It may be someone in the future who's going to need your story. It might be someone in the future who's going to need to hear what you're going through right now and how you got through it, so that they can believe it's possible for them to get through it too. So the person, right? You might be alone right now. You might, but the person who needs you on your A game, you may not even have met yet, right? And sometimes thinking about that, because every single one of us, no matter our struggles, no matter what we're going through right now, no matter our setbacks, someone's going to need our story down the road. And that might be the person for someone with us right now who needs you on your A game. So keep that in mind too, because sometimes we don't see it around us at the moment.
Okay, let's pretend somebody is watching for the first time today, Jamie. Try in like a Ellen 2-3 minute fashion to explain to them what I want them to hear. This is Believe It week. And what I want them to hear is how much you can do in a week if you decide to. You know, like Friday finishers, today is the day I look at my projects and go, oh, all of these items and deliverables have to be done by end of day Friday. And so I set those every Sunday, previous Sunday. And then I just go for a big week. And this week I'm so far behind because I traveled and I ended up quarantining and all this other craziness. But I would love to hear you describe, like, what did you do this week?
Oh, still going. So this week, so I prayed a lot. That's what I did. This week has been, so Monday was my first ever live event. So I kicked off Monday morning, first going live from on Good Morning America, early morning with Robin Roberts. And to make it all happen, we had to set up a hard wire in this like teeny tiny corner of the studio. And we were bringing in all kinds of plants, trying to make it look good. You do what you got to do. And so we went live Good Morning America super early. I think we left the hotel 4 a.m., something like that. And did Good Morning America Monday, and then kicked it off in our first ever live event. It was a full day. Oh my goodness. I think it ended up being somewhere between 12 and 14 hours live. I lost my voice by the very end of it. We had 19 speakers live on the day. And we raised so much money for Together Rising, and also donated 2.2 million meals to Feeding America. 100% of my book, 100% of the proceeds are going, of my proceeds I'm donating as well. But
okay, we have these moments in our time, Jamie and I talk about all this time. There's a launch window, right? You prepare, you prepare, you launch. And sometimes like that Monday is this huge event, registered 200,000 people and launched a book, in the top 2 of all of Amazon, #1 brand new release, #1 in her category, monster book launch, right? And that took 2 years to lead up to that Monday.
Yeah.
2 years to lead that Monday that everybody saw. And what I think's beautiful about that is a reminder, y'all. I believe, Jamie, I don't know if you feel like this way, but I personally believe that a lot of people lost their big ambitions in the pandemic. They were like, I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to do this thing. Where instead, you, over 2 years, write a book, launch a new brand, launch a new thing. Let's go. We launched Growth Day during the pandemic. We're like, oh, we're not going to sit and wait until this thing is over. It's like, this thing is here. And you know what? There's always chaos. There's always struggle. There's always uncertainty in life. You can't be on permanent hold. If you want to achieve great things, you cannot be on permanent hold. You have to find a way, even if you do them different. Jamie probably never imagined she'd do a big virtual event. I never imagined that we would launch Growth Day the way that we did without, our experience of live events. I just want to remind you, big ambitions are okay still. You've got to believe in a bigger picture, a bigger vision, a bigger possibility for yourself. And you don't tamp that down because of uncertainty or politics or even the pandemic. You might have to change it, alter it, reimagine it, but don't kill the dream. And because she didn't kill the dream, she showed up, changed people's lives, and is a #1 bestseller because she didn't hold the dream. There's a belief that says, I will keep going despite uncertainty, despite rules I don't like, despite challenges that are like that suck. And then you could have Mondays like that. Like, I want you to all have Mondays of impact in your life. And that doesn't happen if you wait. I hope that helps.
That's so good. I love all the growth day coaches so much, and I believe in the power of being a lifetime student. And something you just said reminded me of something one of your growth day coaches, Dave Hollis, said recently, where he said, change challenges confidence. And I think all of us, right, we've gone through the past 14 months, so much change, and it has challenged our confidence. And I think it's just important to be aware of it because there's so many people that have had so many more challenges than ever, and so many more things stacked on them, especially parents, than ever. But we also get stronger in those seasons. And I think what's so important is we don't let our capacity to dream or to believe get smaller. And it's easy to do that, right? I was thinking about this, Brendan, and I was thinking about this, how, for anyone who's had a parent retire, right? Like a parent retire, and then you realize like a year into it, their capacity starts to get smaller, meaning like if they're used to traveling all the time, or they're always out socializing or whatever, and then their lives and their careers and everything changes, all of a sudden when they travel, it might be a really big deal, or they go out to an event, it's a really big deal, and you're like, oh wow, right? Their capacity is kind of changing a little bit. And that's why a lot of people retire and they're like, I can't handle this, I need to go volunteer, I need to go, right? Because their capacity shrinks. I think what's happened is twofold in the past 14 months. People are getting things stacked on top of them that are more difficult, but then also the capacity to dream and to live in anticipation and to believe things are possible has kind of been put on hold for a lot of people. And it's gotten a little smaller. And then you stack that with being around just the divisiveness inside a lot of people's families with how they feel politically, or how they feel about the pandemic, or whatever's going, the vaccine, whatever's going. It's a lot. And I think what you're calling out is so important today, so that we don't let our capacity to dream and to have huge goals shrink because everything else is stacking, right? And I think that's huge. When I think about people in my family, for example, one person comes to mind who I won't call out, he's amazing, but he traveled every single day forever. And now when he has one trip, it's like packing for 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. And then like you can't go out to lunch the day before travel because I'm going to travel tomorrow. Like it's this big thing, right? And I just want to make sure that doesn't happen with our dreams and with how we're seeing our hopes and our goals and everything else. Hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying, but I know it's Belief Week also
Yes.
on the Growth Day Morning Show. And I just think it's really important around the topic of mindset when it comes to how, oh, wait, are we letting our own capacity shrink for believing in our dreams because everything else is getting so big that feels so heavy, right? All the change has been challenging your confidence, to use one of your Growth Day coach Dave's words. I think it's just an important thing to be aware of it, right? And that's why another reason why I love this Growth Day Morning Show, because we talk about all these things and we talk about being aware of them, and then like, okay, now what do we do about them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think awareness is huge. Yesterday, I was trying to give people, for those who missed yesterday, I was trying to give tactics of writing down the beliefs you believe the most aspirational people in your life have.
Yes.
And like, what do they believe about themselves? What do they believe about others? What do they believe about the world? And then ask, are you adopting and living from those beliefs? Are you ingraining those beliefs through your behaviors and your thought patterns into your head so you have those optimistic or stronger or confident or caring, compassionate, loving beliefs? Like, are you setting that up? And I think to finish off Belief Week, it's just a reminder of giving yourself that permission to have extraordinary ambitions for you and your family. Because you know what? Very few people will say that. They will tell you to play small. They will tell you to be safe. They will tell you all these things. And by the way, those are all fine. And hey, it's very easy to perpetuate a message of security and safety during a pandemic. And we should. We should be responsible in the messages we share. So Jamie, how did you develop confidence? And when it goes away, how do you get it back?
Yeah. Okay. So two things, and I love, Brendan, that we're going into Confidence Week, right? And that we're going from Vision Week into Confidence Week, because I think the two are so closely linked also. Because again, a lot of, for me, how I get back to that place of confidence is I remember the vision, right? And one thing that I want to say is, like, when you're talking about, you just have faith in your ability to figure things out, and your car might not be the prettiest one that you build in that moment, but you also kind of know where you're going. And I just think the two are really tied. And one quick story that I just want to share in case it's of value to anyone as we go into Confidence Week is, in building it cosmetics, right? There were so many things that and our whole mission as a company wasn't to sell products that work, even though that's what we did. It was to instill confidence, and to shift the entire definition of beauty that we were all raised with, right? And it was more important to me to help women and our customers feel confident all the time, not just when they feel like wearing a makeup product, but more importantly, when they don't, on the days they don't. You know what I mean? And so this was confidence was a huge focus for what we did and what we built. And I just want to share one thing, because as we come out of Vision Week and you shared your battle board and everything else, I think us knowing where we're going, I really believe is so important for confidence. And at It Cosmetics, I did so many things wrong along this journey of going from my living room and not being able to afford to hire anyone for 3 years, to building over 1,000 employees and a $1 billion company. But one of the things I did right was, we kept the vision in the heart and soul, literally in front of everyone physically. And that helps you keep confidence in your product development decisions, and your hiring decisions, in how you show up on the day. And so, to get really granular, when you walked into our offices, and I think this is important, because listen, most of us are working in our living room right now, but we can set up our living room this way, or we can set up the closet we're recording our podcast out of this way, or we can set, maybe it's as simple as when you open your drawer, you have a reminder right there, right? We can do this in your closet. We can do this in all different ways, but every single employee in the whole company got a little sign that went on their desk that had all of, like, our whole mission in photos of why we're doing what we're doing, and the customer was at the heart and soul of it.
Wow.
Right in the center, right? And this became everyone's screensaver. This was printed out, put on every person's desk. When you walked into the offices, right in the lobby, our whole mission statement was on the front wall. And then we had these kind of pillars of belief, that we believed in as a brand, and the impact we wanted to make in the world and on every person that came in touch with our products. And those little beliefs, we painted them all over every place of the office. So if you walked into a conference room, you saw a belief. If you went into the bathroom, you saw a belief. If you they were everywhere. And we ended up referencing this back a lot, and I mean a lot, over the years. And I want to share this with everyone, because I think in this journey of your own vision, but also in being confident, right? A lot of people, that's the one thing that for them will change everything, if they just figure out how to be confident in themselves. And if you know who you are, where you're going, the words you want to say to yourself about yourself, even if you don't believe them yet, when you figure out all of those things, I think having them clear in places in front of you. So on every employee's desk, we had, in this frame, these 4 photos of all the things we stood for, and in the center was our customer at the heart and soul of it. And
Wow.
every time something happened, Brendan, for example, there'd be a big trend in the marketplace, and everyone's making money off selling something, and the retailers are asking our company to create it. And so I have the team coming to me who wants to hit their sales goals. And they're like, okay, listen, here's what and we would go back to that photo. I'd be like, okay, does this serve her? Like, look at me and I would say this, like, tell me, is her life better? If literally, is it better? Does
So
it bring her
good.
joy? Does it solve her problem? Does this fit our vision of where we're going? And usually the answer is no. And then boom, we don't launch that product, or we don't go into that retail partner or
You
whatever
had clear
it is.
intentions. They were stated. People knew it. That's where we talk about even around, I love it how you said it, around your house. Last week, I kept showing you guys my battle board or talking about how I plan and schedule things. It's like, if those words and that purpose isn't there, it's so easy to get distracted over here or over there. Like you have to, even with my clients, I always have them choose like 3 words that describe the best of who they are. And then I have them put those 3 words as a reminder in their phone. And so these reminders pop up every day that say these words that describe the best of who they are. So maybe your word, this week or this month is confident, or maybe it's bold, or it's courageous, or it's thoughtful, or kind, or loving, or appreciative, whatever it is. But when those words pop up on your phone every day, you go, it starts ingraining that self-talk in your mind. It reminds you, oh, right. Reorient to that, reorient to that. Because those words are the labels you're giving yourself. And Jamie, you better talk about labels because you promised them 3 days in a row. And if you don't do it, I'm going to get DMs all day long. What do you do with labels? How do they impact confidence? Because I'm telling you what, I don't want to be a labeled bad guy if I don't facilitate that.
Yeah. Okay. I think that, we're not in life, we're not who other people say we are, right? We're who we believe we are. And I think that, as we come out of Vision Week and go into Confidence Week, I think that we're going to spend a lot of time. I just have a feeling we're going to spend a lot of time this week, Brendan, just talking about this idea of how do we become confident? How do we become confident in our own dreams, confident in ourselves? How do we overcome and break through the barriers of self-doubt? And, I want to bring this up, and this might be a multi-day thing, but so many of us have been told, right? So my amazing husband, Paulo, I hope he's not going to kill me for sharing this, but we were talking about the topic of labels, and he was raised by like loving parents, but he would always be told, you're the athletic one, your brother's the smart one, right? And then as they grow up, we hear these things, right? And sometimes we let these labels take root, and sometimes it's a family member that says it, or a friend that says it, or somebody at school that says it, or a colleague, or it's ourselves saying it to ourselves. But those words, those labels that we give ourselves can be used, to Brendan's point, to really empower us and give us vision and confidence and help us to believe. But there's also labels that for a lot of us are old labels that we're still letting take root and stick to us. And like, oh, it's a new day. It's time to remove some of those old labels. And I don't know who out there needs to hear this right now on the Growth Day Morning Show, but we've all had labels put on us, and they do not, some of them don't serve us. And so, yeah, I was telling Brendan, I had a paragraph in my book about this that I wanted to share. So I'm just going to share it with you really fast, because this is big. And my prayer for everyone, I think that these labels can hold us back. And when we realize they're not permanent, they can really set us free on our own journey to confidence. So I'm going to read this little excerpt from Believe It. Brendan, it's out in 3 weeks.
Go!
Freaking out. Okay, so here we go. In life, we aren't who people say we are. We're who we believe we are. We don't have to accept the labels that other people put on us. We're also not our family, for better or for worse, or our past mistakes. We're not a nickname someone gave us or a regrettable incident we miscalculated. It's easy to carry around old labels and mistake them for permanent ones, but they come with a light Post-it adhesive. So don't let yourself believe they're attached with super glue. They are removable. And sure, sometimes there's truth in some of those hurtful labels. Like for me, I'll share this story later in this week about procrastination, a season I went through. But we make new choices as we grow. We can change our minds and change our decisions about who we are and how we show up for ourselves, for others, and for the world at any moment going forward. Where we come from doesn't have to determine who we are or where we're going in the future.
Hey!
So, sharing that because
so good. That's from Jamie's book, Believe It, coming out this month. Y'all, you can pre-order on Amazon right now, or just go to believeit.com because she has some crazy bonuses for you. Give her a round of applause because that's such good writing, by the way.
It's so
a regrettable, I think you said a regrettable event or that you miscalculated.
Yeah, we're not our regrettable incidents that we might have miscalculated, right?
So good. Or didn't anticipate, you know? It's
Obstacle.
yes,
Yeah.
both of those, because a lot of people let that label from childhood or those high school kids or their first failures that were either they caused or were regrettably like random. And I love it. They're not super glue, she said. They're like,
Mm.
they're
And
completely like, they're
sometimes
like not even good post-it notes. They're like the cheap cheap post-it notes. They won't even stick to the wall. That's what
yeah,
labels really need to be for you. Accept the labels that you build into the foundation of your character
yeah,
because you chose them. Like, because that's a different thing. It's like a name calling is a very different thing than character building.
yeah.
Choosing, who am I built upon? What am I built upon? Who am I really? And that's why I say choosing your words about yourself and reminding yourself about those, even on days when you suck and you're terrible and you don't do good, and you say that to yourself, like, I suck, I'm terrible, I'm awful, I'm worthless. We say these things to ourselves, and that self-talk builds into a pattern of thinking, a mindset, which becomes which mindset and pattern of self-talk over and over and over again, that becomes a psychological pattern, which becomes an identity. And that identity
Mm.
becomes something you operate out of. And
I
so
mean,
you reverse engineer that to structure yourself into a strong, capable, caring, loving, proud, ready, good learner who wants to go add value into the world. In other words, you add that, you make that, you tell that self, you tell that to yourself.
mhm. Yeah, and I think too, so powerful. This is going to be such an amazing week on Growth Day Morning Show for everybody, because I just think if you are out there listening with me and Brendan right now, and you feel like you're the only one that you're like, even you're judging yourself. Maybe it's not someone else that said something hurtful. Maybe it's you feel like because of a past mistake,
And it's
or
always you, just so you know.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
always you. They
yeah.
will all listen, it's like we always think, oh, they said this. No, no, no. You agreed with it.
Mm,
You accepted it.
mm,
You believed that negativity. Because
yeah,
we all can you raise your hand? The haters will always be there. Does everyone agree? They will 100%. There will always be someone to doubt you, minimize you, scream at you, abuse you if you let it. Like that exists in the world. Let's not pretend that mean, negative people can't really hurt us if we continually believe what they say. If we choose to believe what they say, because we can choose to believe in something different, a different narrative about ourselves, a different story about ourselves. And so I think it's really important, because what happens in confidence is often, well, they. And I'm at some point, I'm like, yes, they will always be there. Who are you now?
mhm, mhm.
What do you want to architect into your character? What do you want to have repeating in your mind? That's the critical thing.
And I want to share one thing that was life changing for me, on this journey to confidence. And, I went through a season of what I thought was setbacks. I was anchoring the news. I was working as a journalist. I thought it was my dream job. I always wanted to interview other people, right? And share their stories, like since the time I was a little girl and I was in my dream job. And I started getting rosacea, which is a hereditary skin condition. It was pretty bad. I went through this big season that really affected my confidence, right? And I would get these big red bumps, and it would be bright red. And sometimes, even now to this day, Brendan, when, like, let's say I drink wine one night, or it's just a stressful time, or it's just a season, or the weather, and all of a
So the
sudden,
last 6 months basically is what we're talking about
basically,
here.
I'll just have these. I get really bright red. It kind of can feel like sandpaper. And I went through this season of thinking all the thoughts our inner critic thinks, right? And it really affected my confidence for a long time. And I had this realization in my life, and it really happened the first time I went on live national television and actually took my makeup off. And it's
Mm.
this, right? It's this idea that there are things that we are embarrassed of. And I think this is universal. There are things we're embarrassed of that we let affect our confidence. There's past mistakes we've made. There is, things that we tell ourselves are wrong with ourselves or aren't enough about ourselves. And yet, when we embrace them, when we just make the decision to say, oh, this isn't what's wrong with me, this is what's right with me. And I know that's hard, But when we make that decision, when we do something afraid, it literally shrinks that fear. It
Mm.
shrinks the thing that we thought was really a big deal, right? When we share our story for the first time, or do the thing that's holding us back. And I'm just gonna, I literally, because I have makeup on because I have a press day for book all day today for the book launch. But I just want to show you something, okay? Because I want to challenge everyone inside the Growth Day morning show. This weekend, we're going into a weekend. I just want you to think about one thing that's holding you back in your own confidence and just do it. And just take that risk and just step forward. Okay. And I just want to show you because something happened to me when I did it. So I have a makeup remover wipe, Brendan. This is, you probably never seen one of these. This is a little towelette. I just want to show you something, right? Because so I just have makeup on for press later today. But when I take this off, and I'll never forget the moment I did this for the first time, because I used to think I should be embarrassed or something's wrong with me or I'm not beautiful, all those things. And when I started taking my makeup off, right? Because when I created a company, it wasn't about, oh, these are products that work for, all kinds of skin. It was like, oh, here's what beauty is. It's every single one of us. And you are just as beautiful on the days you want to wear makeup as the days you don't. And something happened to me the moment I did it afraid, the moment I went on national television and just took my makeup off. And Brendan, what started happening literally is I was like, oh, like it's not about me. B, we're all beautiful. I believe that authentically.
Yes.
I'm no
Yes.
longer afraid of rosacea. I'm no longer embarrassed by it. I no longer think it's ugly. And when I go into grocery stores
So
now and I
beautiful.
have no makeup on, right? I'll have people I don't know will be like, oh, are you sunburned or are you not feeling well? And I'm like, no, I have rosacea. It's a skin condition. And I just try to normalize it. And when I see other people, other women, with red cheeks or hyperpigmentation or all this stuff, and I see them just bravely bearing it, I smile like it's like a thing, right? And
It's a
I think
beautiful thing. It's
it's a beautiful
inspiring.
thing. And I think together we're changing the world. And I pulled up one quote I want to share with everyone this morning on the Growth Day morning show, because again, we're all in this together. Every one of us has something that we feel like makes us feel not enough or we're embarrassed about, or it's hurting our confidence. And there's a famous quote, so I wrote it down right here, and it's attributed to Albert Einstein, but also a lot of other people, so I don't know the original source, but it says, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing it's stupid. And I think when we judge ourselves based on something we've defined as wrong with us, we risk spending our whole lives thinking we're wrong.
Yes.
Like when there's something that is holding us back in our own confidence and we're the ones telling ourselves we're not enough, like we spend our whole lives then thinking we're not enough. And I don't want to swear on the Growth Day morning show, but I will say this stuff has got to change.
Yes.
This stuff has got to change. And I want to read this quote one more time, because a lot of us are like this fish judging itself to climb a tree, okay? Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing that it's stupid. This stuff with what we believe about ourselves and the meaning we attach to the things we think are wrong with us is got to change. And when we take that, when we take that step and do it afraid, right? One person who just wrote down here, I think it was Janie wrote, I'm scared to have conversations with other people. You just start, you just do it. You just keep doing it. And once you start doing those things, you build a lot more confidence in it, and the fear shrinks. Like I was scared to death, right? Because I have it on both cheeks. I was scared to death to do this the first time and the second time and the third time. But now, but all of a sudden that fear, that self-doubt, that insecurity shrinks, and it becomes replaced by empowerment. And oh yeah, I can do these things. And oh yeah,
self-trust and congruence and readiness. Because I love what you're saying, because confidence, y'all, if you wait to have confidence to do something, you'll never do it.
Yeah.
Confidence is gained in momentum. So if you want more confidence, you get in momentum. You enter the fear, you enter the unknown, you enter the uncertainty, you try it. And as you survive it and do it, you realize, oh, I can handle this, which builds competence inside.
Yeah.
And because you tried it, you have self-trust. You go, oh, I went for it even though I didn't know how it's going to go. And the self-trust and the self-respect and the self-worth grows, not because you achieved something, but because you tried. Because you tried, you moved forward. The achievement was the trying, and you did it. And you also realize that most people aren't, like when you did this, I was watching the comments really closely, Jamie. First, would you all give Jamie a round of applause, because this is so inspiring? Give her some hearts, give her some claps, because this is like,
together.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful what you just did. It's beautiful. And I'm watching the comments, and people cheer that on. People cheer real life on. We're always scared that, oh, real life people won't like that. So let me use the filter. Let me use people love real. People love this show. They're here every day because they're gaining with us as we're gaining momentum in growth day. They're gaining momentum with us. We're feeling good. We're moving in a direction. We're building new things. We're trying new things. But if you were me and Jamie in the first 4 days of this, it was a hot mess. Yeah. We didn't know how. She's like, we're sitting there with the blue tape, trying to figure out how to plug this in, how to make that go. The audio was all messed up. I didn't know I had to wear the earphony things because this mic was doing something weird on the. We had no idea what we were doing, but we're gaining confidence and steam as we go along, and we get to do that with you. Yeah. Please heed what she's sharing. I shared about that yesterday too. I want to just emphasize her fish out of water. That was yesterday's message too. Was remember that. Be kind of like water. The water, as it flows, can go around any obstacle, no matter how big the obstacle is, and it doesn't try to change its nature.
Yeah.
It follows its path. It follows its path. And by following your real path, not trying to hide who you are, following your real path, I really believe people will cheer you on and support you way more than the haters. Haters are, I'll just give you the rule. Haters are 10%. If you can accept that whatever you do in your life, 10% of people are maybe going to give you some negative feedback, criticism, judgment, unfair judgment, or hate.
Yeah.
What would you do in your life? Because that's only 10%. 90% of people got your back. You could swarm the haters. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. I love that so much. It's so true. And it's beautiful too. The more you embrace the parts of yourself that you think are not enough, and literally you can switch your mindset around them and just embrace them as beautiful. Or, in my case, a lot of times I think to myself, oh, this is helping someone else. It's helping normalize skin issues, or it's helping, right? It's like when we reveal the real of who we are, it shrinks our fear, it boosts our confidence, but it also becomes about something bigger than ourselves too. And, one great example of this, anyone out there who knows Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, right? Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. She is such a I love when people just show it all, right? She's married to Jesse Itzler, who I believe he's vegan. Sarah's obsessed with Cheez-Its and French fries. And she's not even trying to act like she's not. And it's a really cool thing because I'm just thinking of this because she's turning 50 and she just went on a trip by herself. So she has 4 kids and she's like, for a gift, I just want to go away by herself. She went away by herself and she's posting all week long from her hotel room what she's doing all alone. And I'm just a little biased because she brought my book, Believe It, with her to read the second time. She already read the book. She sent me a whole testimonial about it, saying every woman in the world needs this, every entrepreneur. And then she's now reading it a second time on her 50th birthday week. And she's posting it sitting next to, she has a table of wine, French fries, and salad to keep it all balanced.
This sounds great.
Right?
What a good vacation. Good job.
That's the best. And that's a room with some of my favorite things. Sarah Blakely, the Believe It book, wine, French fries, and it was Caesar salads that she had. I'm just like, oh my gosh, brilliant.
Well, she got the salad in. I mean, those points. Those points.
Yeah, she's like her husband will approve of one of those things.
If I eat something terrible like pizza or something, I'll go to the pantry and eat all these chlorella and spirulina tablets that we have. I'm like, well, so I'll eat a pile of them, just a bunch of greens. I'll swallow after. I'm like, I'm good.
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
great. Everyone
listen.
loves you. If you don't know what Jamie's talking about, she's talking about her book, Believe It. It is so good. Please pick it up. It is going to be a huge bestseller because A, everyone loves Jamie and believes in her. B, the value in this book of vulnerability, of sharing this difficult journey of how do you believe in yourself, start something that's your own, build it up, endure the constant no's and haters and criticism and frankly demeaning people that can be in the world, to follow your passion and build something that's real. And you have to do that. You have to believe it. So she did it as a play on words because her company was called It Cosmetics.
Yeah.
And so believe it as in It Cosmetics, but believe it also believe it. Believe is possible for you.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to your own story. Do you remember how old you were or what situation you were in life when you first realized, this could be a little girl, teenage years, whatever, that you were struggling with self-confidence?
I think there's one moment I can remember, and maybe a lot of people actually will have this moment in common. Because I think a lot of us have this experience when we, as little kids, we, have opinions and know the answers and this and that. I remember more than one moment where this happened, but I think the first moment is the most powerful. And maybe a lot of people listening to us have had this moment. I can remember as a little kid, like the first time in the classroom, knowing the answer. And for the first time ever, deciding not to raise my hand. Like the first time self-doubt kind of like took over. And I had thoughts like, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I get made fun of? What if all of that, right? And I think for a lot of us, self-doubt can get so loud. And all of a sudden, before you know it, we're adults and parents and grandparents. And we're still in a spot where we can again be having all kinds of worldly success, but no, deep down inside, we're still not raising our hand. And what that can look like is, oh, my business is doing so phenomenally well, but I actually have these really like God-sized dreams about it or different types of ideas for it. But I'm afraid to actually put them out there or take a chance just in case I fail. I think who I am with these ideas maybe isn't enough. Maybe I'm inadequate to actually lead my team to that next level. So we're so many of us are still that person, still not raising our hand, even though we're able to check enough boxes around us to hide it. And so, for me, I can remember when self-doubt started to kick in, and then I remember a number of moments in my career. And I know you go deep on your show, deep on your podcast. But and maybe a lot of people listening can relate to this, especially people in a leadership position, or who's leading a team is, I found myself in many moments in my life knowing how to do enough to do that well, but also knowing deep down inside, I didn't feel like I was enough. I felt often like I'm an imposter. Do I have what it takes to do this? And there were many moments where I did doubt myself out of my own destiny. So I think while a lot of people might know my story is, Denny's waitress builds $1 billion business, or first woman to hold a CEO title in L'Oreal's history of any brand in their 100+ year history. My real story is a girl who went from not believing in herself to learning how to believe in herself. And my first book, Believe It, is really my journey of learning how to believe in myself. But Worthy is really the playbook on how do you believe in you. And it's packed with over 20 tools that are real tactical that you can really apply to your life right now. Like I think of the rejection framework, but for an example in the book. And, a lot of people will ask, well, how did you, endure years and years and years of rejection building your business? And, a lot of people don't know we were teetering on bankruptcy for many years. A lot of people just kind of know the success story. Wow, it's now one of the largest, companies in that space. But for many years, it was rejection after rejection. And I think,
learning how to deal with that is such a powerful thing, and also how to almost embrace it in a fearless way, how to reframe past rejection so we don't let them take root and start to think that we're a failure, which can then take root in our self-worth. And so, yeah, I packed it with lots and lots of tools on hopefully that everyone can apply to their lives right now. Because, one of the things I say in the book is that, when it comes to your business or your leadership or your life or your relationships or your goals and dreams, that we don't soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth, and we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And so, when you build your self-worth, it's just one of the most, and doing that through faith and doing that through a whole lot of other tools, because at the end of the day, building strong self-worth is not about learning new things. It's actually about unlearning. It's about unlearning a lot of the lies that lead to self-doubt, and then igniting those truths that wake up worthiness. So, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Baby Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.